Hello, I'm Linda Press-Wolf. Welcome to LCTV Channel 20, A Visit With. With me today is David Alfano, Lewisboro's police chief. David is a Lewisboro resident, John Jay High School graduate, and served 6 years active duty with the United States Coast Guard. So David, welcome.
Hi, how are you, Linda?
I'm doing fine, and it's great to have you here on the program.
It's nice to be here.
You know, a bit over 1 year as Lewisboro's police chief, what has changed under your leadership?
A few things, Linda. So, to start off, I started writing a bunch of grants. Some are still pending, but I got some grants for license plate readers. As you can see in the vehicle now, we have license plate readers on 3 vehicles, and then we're also going to be having a fixed license plate reader that'll be stationed on Route 35. We also got speed trailers, which if anybody's driving on Route 35, they can see the sign out there that's saying lock your vehicle, take your keys. That's capable of showing us speeds and statistics on throughout town of who's speeding, the average speeder, everything like that. We also have a digital speed sign that does the same thing, same company. And then I also got a new computer program, which is for reports. So back in the day, we had this program is called SJS. It's about 30 years old. And now with the new program, officers are able to do the reports in the vehicles after a call, or even before going to a call. They could check to see if there's a history at that location. So it even helps with officer safety. And this is great because with the SJS system, the old system, they would have to go to the call, take the report, go back to the headquarters, and then write up the report. And it was a slow system. Like I said, 30 years old, it's old. So the new one's great, fantastic, works well, and it keeps the cop out on the road, and he's visible officer presence.
That's great to hear. That's quite a bit that's been accomplished under your leadership in really just over a 1 year period. You know, law enforcement, David, also includes diffusing tense situations, not involving any criminal acts, like neighbors feuding over, a tree branch or getting into a heated argument. But in some of these instances, the police are called in. So how are police trained to act in these situations?
Linda, it all starts at the police academy for us. In the police academy, you're doing role-playing, reality-based training. You're trained in de-escalation. You're trained in LEAPS, verbal judo. LEAPS is an acronym. It stands for listening, emphasizing, asking questions, paraphrasing, and summarizing. So basically, if you're talking to a subject that is, irate over something, if you use LEAPS or verbal judo, you're basically giving that person, that subject, your full attention. And they genuinely feel that you're listening to them. So in theory, it's going to de-escalate the situation. And that's what we want. Our ultimate goal is for volunteer compliance. We don't want to go hands-on. We don't want to use any levels of force. We want volunteer compliance. So that's our ultimate mission.
Lewisboro Police also keeps our roads and highways safe for our residents and really all travelers, whether they live in town or they're just traversing our state roads and our local roads. And I know one of the things that the police department does is a traffic stop, a truck inspection at a particular location, and they do that from time to time. So how often does that occur? What does it involve? And more importantly, what does it reveal?
Good question, Linda. The commercial vehicle checkpoint, we'd like to try to conduct it twice a year. We hold it at the town park on Route 35 because it's a good location. You have a large parking lot where you can turn big trucks around. And this past spring, we try to do it spring and fall. This past spring, we obviously didn't do it for obvious reasons with COVID. This fall, we're going to try to schedule one. And basically what we're doing, we work with New York State Police, Westchester County, even the health department comes up. And what we're doing is there's an officer out on Route 35 and he's flagging in every commercial vehicle. And when they pull in, we go to the big parking lot by the basketball courts and there's officers there that are greeting them, and they pull up, they check their lights, turn signals, headlights, brake lights, their horn, reverse lights, make sure everything is in compliance, and then they'll run the operator, they'll run the business to make sure they're registered in Westchester County as a business. And from there, if we do reveal, something that's inadequate or not in compliance with vehicle and traffic law, they'll either issue a fix-it ticket, depending on what it is. And a fix-it ticket is basically, you have a headlight out, you have 24 hours to fix that ticket, and if you fix it, there's no fine, the ticket goes away. Now, there's other bigger problems with the triaxles and the dump trucks that'll come through. And this New York State guys that are trained in this will actually check the brakes, they'll weigh them, they'll put the big trucks on scales to make sure they're not overweight. And there are times where you see some of these triaxles or dump trucks that are way overweight. The rating for the vehicle or for that truck, and they're a few thousand pounds over, which is really dangerous because those brakes aren't geared up for that. So it's a big problem because obviously safety is an issue. Safety is paramount. And, if that vehicle can't stop on a road and it smashes into somebody, we have a serious problem. So they're checking all that kind of stuff, and those are some hefty fines. And it not necessarily goes to the driver, but it'll go to the business. So if it's a corporation, they'll get fined as well, and they'll have to show up for court and plead their case.
And in order to implement this process, as I understand, there's minimal cost to the taxpayers because you do seek and obtain grant monies in order to execute this truck inspection.
That is correct. We will utilize the New York State highway safety grants and stuff like that. But even the cost of it would be 8 hours for about 3 men or women. That alone, I mean, you can't put a price tag on someone's safety and someone's life. So
very true, very true. Now, my next question, and you answered it in part, was how does our local police interact with county and state? And you gave one example in working collaboratively on these truck inspections. What are some of the other instances or circumstances where you interface with our other police forces?
Linda, we work with actually not even just the state and the county. We also work with Ridgefield, New Canaan, Wilton, all our neighboring agencies, Bedford, Pound Ridge, on I would say, daily basis. I'm good friends with all the chiefs in the neighboring agencies, and we work together. We have chief meetings, everything like that. For county is a good example. I worked prior to becoming chief. I was narcotics. I worked narcotics with them for about 2 years, and I actually turned out of Westchester County Police Academy, and I did that for about 2 years. We'll do Stop DWI. That's another grant, Stop DWI money, and we'll team up with county as well as New York State Police, and we'll do checkpoints throughout town, or we'll do a roving patrol, and that's funded by county Stop DWI money. What else is there? And just communication alone, just between all the neighboring agencies and state police. I mean, we have an outstanding relationship with the state police as their primary investigations in this town. I don't have detectives or investigators, so if there's a case that comes through Lewisboro, we'll have to turn it over to the state police because they have investigators out of Somers, and they'll be able to run with the case and hopefully solve everything. And again, we work hand in hand with them. If they need any assistance in the case, we'll help them out as best as we can, because I mean, normally we know just about everybody in this town. So it's goes back to the community policing. A lot of times the state will even come to us, hey, do you know this guy? Because we all grew up here. We know just about everybody. These
collaborations seem to me to make law enforcement more efficient, more effective, and certainly a better way to keep us all safe and well protected. On another note, Lewisboro, the town of Lewisboro, has been ranked, and I believe this goes back to 2013, and it occurs several years since then in a row. Lewisboro has been ranked safest place to live in America by the SafeWise report in its 100 safest cities in America. That's an outstanding compliment, and I would ask, how has Lewisboro Police contributed to that outstanding statistic?
Well, I'd like to first. I'd like to thank the community members, because it's not just the police that help. You know, if we have a question, or we turn to the community and the residents of Lewisboro, they have no problems. They help us out. They assist us with everything, and I'd like to thank the community for that, because they work hand in hand with us, and they're wonderful. It's a fabulous town. As far as Lewisboro Police, we monitor social media. We try to be more proactive as opposed to being reactive. Again, going back to our relationship with the local, the state police and the Westchester County Police and your neighboring agencies, that all helps, because whatever crimes happening in their towns, I kind of get a heads up of what's might happen in Lewisboro. So I like to stay on top of that. Communication is key, as well as we have some the full-time resident officers that we have here, Andrew, Erica. They're fabulous. It goes to, again, community policing. We show up to calls, they kind of know who we are, and it de-escalates the situation. Or we have a school resource officer, Frank Secret, who does a phenomenal job. He interacts with these kids at a young age, and then they get older and older, and they turn around, they respect us because he had such a good relationship with them. We have a canine unit. We do car seat checks. Erica does the car seat inspections. What else? We have phenomenal our part-time officers. I was telling you, actually, your husband earlier, that we have one guy we just recently hired. He's a retired chief of police in Carmel. He just got here about a couple months ago, and he's phenomenal. Another one of our part-time guys is a retired state trooper for 30 plus years. He was in charge of major crimes investigations. So every part-time guy brings something to the table, and everyone's unique in their own little way, and it benefits us. And just everything compiled together is just, it brings the town to a safer place, and it's just a different kind of policing.
Well, I'm sure I speak for everyone in town that appreciates everything that you do in order to maintain safest place to live in America, and I agree. All police officers in any town require a valid reason to stop an individual or pull over a car. Give us a few examples of the type of behavior or conduct that might cause a police officer to pull someone over or stop an individual and ask some questions.
Sure. So basically, vehicle and traffic, anything, there's a thick book, New York State vehicle and traffic. There's a ton of laws. If you go through a stop sign, you fail to stop at a stop sign, you may get stopped. If you're speeding over this posted speed limit sign, you may get stopped. If you have a headlight out, a brake light out, you're not wearing a seatbelt, or if you have a cell phone in your hand, you're talking on the phone, not hands-free. So those are some examples. As far as other examples of being out and seeing somebody walking or a suspicious person, a lot of times it'll be a call that came in, a 911 call to service. But even that, we check the parks every night, town property and businesses, and if you see something out of the ordinary, or the parks are closed at night, so you're going to stop, you're going to ask the individual, what are they doing in the park, and you're going to go from there. You're not detaining anybody, you're just simply having a conversation. That's it.
I would think in some instances too, it might be just observing a citizen who looks vulnerable, maybe a senior citizen who looks like they're lost or maybe disoriented. And so that brings me to asking you about how the police department assists our senior citizen population. I understand you have some processes in place that help our seniors.
We actually do. Pam Veith works for the town of Lewisboro, and she does an outstanding job. She's an amazing lady, and she primarily deals with the senior citizens on a daily basis, whether it's bringing food, medicine, checking in on them, and I'm sure there's 100 other things that she does. But they basically, the Parks and Rec Department, Pam Veith, monitor them during the weekdays, and then on holidays and weekends, the Lewisboro Police will take over, and we have a system, it's called Are You OK? and we contact them. We call them every morning to make sure they're okay, and we actually have some long conversations with them. They're sweethearts. So that happens, as well as I know a few senior citizens that aren't even on that Are You OK list, and anybody could sign up for it. But I personally know a few that I check on throughout town, just from being a resident here and growing up here my whole life. So we do that, and we also have welfare checks. So if somebody's from, say there's a senior citizen that lives in town and their children live in California, and they tried calling them on their cell phone and they didn't answer, they may call the Lewisboro police, contact us, and we'll send an officer over to the house and do a welfare check and make sure everyone's all right.
So if a senior citizen in town or a family member wants to sign up a senior relative for that Are You OK check-in, how do they do that?
They could either contact Pam Veith over at the Parks and Rec Department, or they could contact the Lewisboro Police or myself, and I'll put them in the right direction.
You mentioned earlier about our canine unit, so can you give our viewers an update on our canine officer Zane and his human partner, Officer Llewellyn?
Yeah, so K9 Zane, he's a big hit in town. He's actually turning 4 years old on September 15th. And his handler is Sergeant Andrew Llewellyn. And he is basically, the K9 Zane is he's trained in narcotics detection, tracking, and patrol duties. And K9 Zane is 100% donations. So it doesn't cost the taxpayers, doesn't cost them a dime. It's all the generosity of our great residents of Lewisboro and friends of LPD.
That's great. I've met Officer Llewellyn and I've met Zane, and I understand he's a welcome ambassador as well
to
the townsfolk. And
he is.
In the past,
and
we've
the kids
seen
love
him.
him. He's good with the kids.
They do. Now, the town recently appointed Andrea Rendo to Police Committee Reform and Reinvention. What is this, and how might this impact Lewisboro Police Force?
So basically, Andrea Rendo is one of, I believe, 11 members, including myself as one of them. And basically, Governor Cuomo signed an executive order in June, I believe, of 2020, requiring a committee be formed. And this committee is to review the department's policies and procedures and meet with the community members. There'll be a public hearing. Everyone can have a say. And basically, a reinvention of law enforcement for the 21st century. As far as Lewisboro, I'm sure there'll be a few changes in our department policy and procedures that get us up to date. So I'm actually looking at that currently, spending long hours buried into the 700-page book. But we'll get there, and we have to be compliant by August 1st of 2021, and we have to send a plan up to New York State.
I would imagine that these findings will also be shared with our town board and council members. What other kinds of interaction does the police chief have with the supervisor and our council persons?
So I personally talk to the supervisor on a daily basis, and I also have liaison Jen Castellano, who's phenomenal, and also she works for the senator's office and assisted with one of our grants that I forgot to mention. Actually, was a vehicle. We just got it's still pending, but we should be getting a vehicle in the next year, and I'm looking to try to get a hybrid police vehicle, so we'd cut down on emissions and save on some fuel. But again, I talk to Jen on a daily, I would say a weekly basis, Peter Parsons on a daily basis, and even Leo Masterson, who is comptroller, but he's also a deputy supervisor, and I speak to him daily as well. And we have a phenomenal working relationship, and they're great. If I need something or I make a recommendation because of a recent example is the car larcenies. I contacted Peter Parsons, and he trusts my judgment, and we increase in patrol activity to try to combat that.
The town of Lewisboro also has Emergency Preparedness and Management Committee, and it's chaired by Adam Oakes. So how do the police department and this agency cooperate and coordinate pre, during, and post emergencies. Recently, we had a pretty severe storm.
Yeah, you know what? I'd actually like to use this moment to actually thank Adam Oakes. He does a phenomenal job, and I don't think a lot of the people in this town know that he volunteers his time. It's all voluntary based, and he goes above and beyond. Fabulous job, fabulous work. He's very resourceful, and I work with him hand in hand, pre, post, during. We set up a command center, and I speak with him daily throughout and give him updates. He'll give me updates, and as well as Tony Gonsalves is also, I believe, deputy of that. And, all three of us, we work great together.
David, there are hard and fast statistics that validate that we are indeed the safest place to live in America. And thank you in part to you and your team for helping keep us in that high ranking. And some of the statistics that I read compared, for example, violent crimes and property crimes here in Lewisboro to that of some of the national statistics. And in those areas in particular, violent crimes, property crimes, we were 0 compared to national stats. Property crimes, 0 compared to national stats. And it was the same throughout all of these statistical mentions. So what is it that separates us from other towns as far as this exemplary safety record?
Good question. I'd have to say between the full-time resident officers that live in town, have kids in town, have kids in the school district, as well as part-time police officers that just have, that worked here for many years and have grown fabulous relationships with community members and businesses in the town. I mean, it goes distances. But ultimately, I would say the officers that I employ here, that I have on my staff, are just, it's not about a paycheck or a pension. There's heart that goes in, every day in and day out. It's a passion of this job and the heart for the community.
There has been some unfavorable press about police in various parts of the country. How has that affected police department personnel here in Lewisboro?
So, I don't think it affects us at all. And I don't think it affects us, the morale, because, myself, my officers are anti-bias. So we'd like to think that our community members and the residents of Lewisboro are anti-biased towards us and respect us because we do a fantastic job and we're only here to help.
Well, we've learned a lot today about the police department and your team. And so now, to get a little personal, or not too personal, tell us more about you, David, and your service in the Coast Guard Reserve.
Yeah, so I've been in the Coast Guard for almost 19 years now. It'll be 19 years in February. And I did 6 years active, and the rest have been an active reservist. So basically, what happens now is that the first weekend of every month, or sometimes the second weekend of every month, I go down to Kings Point, Long Island, and I drill out of Coast Guard Station Kings Point. I drive small boats, and when we go out on the water, we're doing boating safety. We're stopping other boats. We're doing the ultimate mission is search and rescue. Now we're doing a lot of homeland security. We basically cover, if you draw a line from the Connecticut-New York border through Long Island Sound down to Long Island, and we go all the way west to the United Nations building. So we do Long Island Sound, the East River, and parts of the Harlem River. So we have LaGuardia is right there. We got Throgs Neck, Whitestone Bridge, Amtrak Bridge, the RFK Bridge. So there's a lot of high interest security checkpoints that we do while underway. It's almost like being a police officer on the water.
So with your full-time job as police chief and the weekend duty, that doesn't leave much time for leisure pursuits.
No, and I do get that a lot from the wife.
So what else would our viewers like to know about Chief David Alfano?
So some of my hobbies include, I like to hike in some of our beautiful parks throughout town and our preserves. I enjoy hunting, fishing, and as well as restoring old cars. I currently have a 1933 Chevy in the garage.
So describe our Lewisboro police force today, and what do you envision it looking like in the future, or near future?
So what I would like and what I would envision and hoping is for possibly a new police station down the road, have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, and maybe possibly bond something. And right now we're in a double wide trailer that was a temporary trailer when I was in kindergarten. That was my art and music class, and that was supposed to be temporary, and they're still here. But it gets the job done. However, I would like to be teamed up again with the New York State Police, like we used to be on 81 Spring Street, and maybe possibly sell that building and take the money towards the new building. And also, the building here we're paying rent on, and we're paying that to the school district. So if we could get that rent out of there, and we own a lot of land in town, and possibly do some sort of green building in the town park and have a command center for all these storms that we always get, and NICEC could come over there and have a big command center, as well as Adam Oaks and Tony Gonsalves, and you could run shop right in there, and as well as having the state police with us again, and just a nice joint operation.
It sounds like a solid plan, a worthwhile one for our community. And I hope at some point our town board, our townspeople will get behind it and help you achieve that vision.
Thank you.
So David, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your dedication, your professionalism. Thank your team for everything that they do. And thank you for joining us today on this program and a visit with. We enjoyed it, and I'm sure our viewers did as well. So thank you for watching LCTV Channel 20.
You're watching Lewisboro Community Television, Channel 20.